Today we're going to talk about how to change fractions to decimals and decimals to fractions. So for the first thing we're going to talk about is if you have a fraction like 1/2, the top number here, that is your numerator, and your bottom number here is your denominator. And we're going to talk about how to get this to a decimal. Now, some of you may already know that 1/2 is equivalent to 0.5. This is true, and we know this, but I'm going to show you how to prove it. So what you're always going to do is you put your division sign, and the numerator is going to go inside, and the denominator is going to go outside. So this says 1 divided by 2, because all fractions are division problems waiting to happen. That fraction bar right there can also mean divide, can be a divide sign. So 1/2 is the same as saying 1 divided by 2. So we're going to say, how many times can 2 go into 1? Well, it can go 0 times. So 0 times 2 is 0, and then we subtract, and 1 minus 0 is 1. Now, in lower grades we would have left that as a remainder, but we don't want to do that anymore. We want to add a decimal and a 0, and that decimal comes straight up top, and then we drop this 0 down, and now we say 2 can divide into 10 5 times. And 5 times 2 is 10. And when I subtract this time I get 0, and that means I'm finished. So 1/2 is equivalent to 0.5. Okay, now let's talk about a fraction like 3/8. Well, the same thing, same rule applies. I'm going to put the numerator inside and the denominator outside. And I'm going to say, how many times can 8 go into 3? Well, it's 0. And I'm just going to go ahead and add my decimal and 0. Now, how many times can 8 go into 30? Well, 8 can go into 30 3 times. And 3 times 8 is 24. Then we subtract, and I have to borrow. So 10 minus 4 is 6. 8 cannot go into 6, so I add a 0 up top, drop it down. 8 will go into 60 7 times. 7 times 8 is 56. So this time I'm going to have to keep going a little bit. So same thing, I'm going to borrow. 10 minus 6 is 4. Put a 0 up top. Drop it like it's hot. 8 will go into 40 5 times, and 5 times 8 is 40. Now, sometimes they'll repeat, like if I had 1/3. This is actually going to be a repeating decimal. It's going to keep going, 0.333. And it's going to keep going on and on and on. When that happens, you just stop, and you can put like 1/3 equals 0.3 repeat bar, and you can show that. Okay, now let's work the other way. This time we're going to do decimals to fractions. So the main thing is read that decimal to me. No, really read it to me. Okay, so 7/10. So what you're going to write is 7/10. And then see if it needs to be simplified. Okay, another example, 0.5. Well, we did that one in the reverse. So read it to me. Right, 5/10. So 5 over 10. But this one can be simplified, and 5 over 10 can simplify to 1/2. And if you remember from earlier in the video, we changed a half to a decimal, 0.5, and now we've changed it back.